Good everyone and welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to do caustics for anime. Now you can apply this to pretty much any scene you want to in Blender Render, but this is specifically for large bodies of water. You know, something like a lake, a pool, that sort of thing. What you're seeing right now is what we're going to be creating. And at the end, I'm going to show you what you can achieve if you really push this technique. At least in an afternoon. So let's get to it. So as you can see, this is my default scene. I'm going to be getting rid of a few objects in here. For example, I don't need a smooth sun. We want a fairly sharp shadow. So I'm going to leave the toon one here, remove the constraint so I can actually rotate it. Not too far because we want a fairly down angle shadow. And I'm going to duplicate this and move it over. And this is going to be my caustic sun. So I'm going to call this one caustic sun. Okay, I'm going to just ignore that. That's going to stay. Ray shadow, soft size 0, threshold 1. It makes a very small difference in terms of rendering, but if you're talking about a 10-minute render average per frame, you'll take anything you can get. So trust me, you want to do that. So under shading, I turned off these two. They make a small difference, even if you don't have them in your scene. If they're on, they're sucking power. So turn off compositing for the moment. Metadata you can leave. Those I leave as they are. I'm just going to be removing these because I need 2 new layers. So this will be normal for above the water and caustics for under the water. Now the caustic layer will just be the second layer, and our normal layer will mask our caustic layer, so I'm only going to be using those. That is good. Turn off edge, turn off strand. On the caustic layer we're not going to need freestyle, so I'm going to turn that off as well. On the normal one, turn off sky because we want a transparent background. You can turn off freestyle as well. No, not freestyle. Freestyle has to stay on. Halo has to be taken out because we're not going to use it. We're not going to use Z. I think we're good. Let's make sure our environment lighting is turned off. We're going to be using my typical fake environment lighting using hemi lights. Link in the description to the original tutorial. I'm not the smart guy who figured it out. Let me just show you what they look like. They're just 6 hemi lights pointing in every basic direction. This gives you a very flat shaded type of look. So you can see one pointing forward, backwards, sideways, up and down. Simple as that. Okay, so I'm just going to be hiding those again, just making sure they're on both layers because we need the same lighting. That is good. I'm going to mute them again. Okay, so the plane I'm going to be using as the first water surface. So I'm going to be calling this water.000. And then I'm going to be duplicating it because it already has a material. And that's going to be water 1. First one, let's use the first one and let's just adjust this material correctly. Now this is where you have to choose which one this will be. Water 1 I prefer to be my mask, so this will go onto the normal layer. So let's call this one normal water. And this one you can just give a toon material. 1.28. Give it a nice blue color. I like an aqua type shade. Not entirely aqua, something along these lines. I prefer not to have specularity on, but I think in this case I'm going to give it a shot and just see what it looks like. That's good. Shading, translucency, transparency. You need it to be partially transparent. Something along these lines. You're going to have to make it fairly opaque. And we are going to add reflectivity, but in order to get things finished, I'm going to be reducing the transparency and kind of leaving mirror off until the end. We'll get to that. Full oversampling is good. Shadow, receive transparent, no auto ray bias. Very important. If you want good flat shading, no auto ray bias. Okay, let's duplicate, not duplicate. Let's move our caustic water a little bit downward. Has to be below this layer because it has to cut out what is underwater. Just a quick hint. The distance between these two planes you're going to have to render to check. When two surfaces in Blender are too close together, they tend to interfere with each other. You know, like when two faces are over each other, they create that funny artifact type of thing. Basically, all it does is it flashes like crazy on the surface if you render it out, or even if you just go through the viewport. When two surfaces are exactly on top of each other, it's super annoying. So if you do check it, make sure that you have enough distance. If you find that your material seems to be really, really dark, especially from the discernment in the preview, then you gotta know that they're too close together and you need to space them out a little bit more. So for now, I'm just going to leave them as is because we're just setting up our stuff. So this one we're going to be calling caustic surface. Okay. Caustic water surface, sorry. Or let's water caustic surface. Lots of names today, lots of names today. Okay, now your diffuse material doesn't matter, because we're not going to be coloring the water and we're not going to be using any specularity whatsoever in this case. And what you do need is transparency, and you need to set it to ray trace, turn off alpha, and turn off specularity. Your IOR you can set to 1.2 or 1.1 depending on your preference. You do need to make sure that it is distorted, so we're going to be adding a texture later. No filtering needed, no limits needed, fall off is fine, no auto-ray bias. Okay, we're good. Now this is purely to distort whatever is under the water surface. Okay, so let's give it a slight surface distortion, and let's call this water surface. Going to be adding an empty so that everything moves at exactly the same pace. So I'm just going to be moving it off to the side so that it's actually clickable. Water surface, set it to clouds. I want to see the material. Definitely going to be using a color ramp on this. And we're only going to be using our normal influence. So I'm just going to close that. None of that. It's like it's not making a difference. It might be that it's too big. So let's try for, say, 2. That's very strange. Usually it affects it. Whatever. Probably just show up in the render. Very odd. Whatever. Okay, that's fine. IOR is dealt with. Mirror, fine. Strands, okay. So let's take a quick look at what we have so far. If we render this out, I just want something to actually be distorted, so I'm going to be not creating, but adding something to distort, something like that. I need render. Surfaces are way too close together and not responding correctly. So let's quickly fix that. Okay, this is the blue one, so it needs to come up a little bit. Let's check it out. Okay, I also want to reduce the distortion. I think it's way too strong. I think I used 0.01 in the final example I'm going to be showing you at the end. Yeah, 1 will do. Okay, that's good. Let's quickly sort out our lighting. Now, our normal tune lamp will be on the first layer. Our caustic sun lamp will be on our second layer, which is great. Our monkeys everything that's going to be going in and out of the water has to be on both layers. Just a quick tip. Now these are, so that's great. Just want to make sure. Well, that's it. Let's quickly do another render. Yeah, see, now we actually have some light. So let me just pull this face kind of through the water so we can just see. Just bring it forward, forward, a little bit down, and forward. It's a little big. So something like that. So we can actually see it enter into the water. Yeah, something like that. That's good. Now, the thing I see we're missing here is the fact that the surface and the caustics are on the same layer. So we're going to have to separate those. This is the only thing that splits between the two layers and the sun lamps. So just for the caustic one, I say this layer only. It's only allowed to be on one layer. And I think we are good. Let's render this out and do quick compositing. Just want to make sure. Okay, compositing. Okay, let's hit render. Yeah, see, I should shrink that distance a bit or move the camera. Let's see what the compositing does for it. I'm going to chuck it all and add new, render layer, and caustics. And mix. This one's alpha, image, and image. The alpha is the transparency. That determines what is underwater and what is not. That's why I said it's very important that you turn off the sky. In more complicated scenes, this still works because everything that's under the water for the normal layer gets cut off because of this mask over here. So it's very crucial that it's set up this way. Let's zoom in. Yeah, see, it doesn't matter that that distance was there. It's completely removed in the render. Absolutely fantastic. Now that this is sorted, let's do some more work on this. Now you're probably wondering, where are the color lines going to be coming from? They're going to be coming from our sun lamp. So go into your sun lamp, click on the sun lamp, and then click on textures, because you can actually add textures to your lamps. And let's click and say caustic light. Okay. Select a cloud texture. We're going to be using the improved Perlin. It's the closest one Blender has to the more anime one. The reason I don't want to distort it, and the reason I don't want to use something like this, for example, is that it's too straight. Just look at that. It doesn't work. It's not going to suit the purpose. So I'm not using that. I'm sure there's a way to do a different texture, but God hasn't shown me that yet. He's only shown me this method that I'm sharing with you right now. So this is going to be what we're sticking with. Might do an update in the future, might not. Doesn't matter. Okay, use improved Perlin. Reduce it to a 0 depth so that you can see this little key shape over here. And the focus is going to be to get these black lines as our light lines. So all you need to do is just flip that around, bring this in, set it to ease, and this is going to be our caustic light. So you can give this a slight color. I prefer to give it a slight yellow color just to give it a little bit of a warm feel to it. And I set the color to be about 4 and to add. No RGB to intensity. Don't do that. Also stay away from shadow, because if you tick shadow, this is going to show up inside the shadows as well. So no, caustic light does not show up in the shadows. Only with reflection. Under mapping, set it to object. Again, the empty, so that everything moves at the exact same pace. And I think we can check it. Oh, sorry, no composite node. Ah, my mistake. There we go, composite node. Let's try that again. There we go. And there you go. You see? It's under the water, but it's not above the water. I do feel that this is quite big. So I'm just going to be shrinking down the texture over here by making it like twice. Let's go for twice. I think twice might be a little bit much. Let's see. No, twice is fine. Let's stick with twice. Okay, all that is good. Now let's move the camera away so that we get a nice view. And take this one under the water. Make it nice and big. Turn it slightly. And this one very far submerged. Not too far, so make it about there. Okay, so let's pretend that the water is super dense and that everything changes quite quickly. I want to show you how to make things go darker the deeper it goes. So just rotate this plane on the y-axis so that it's nice and upright. Depending on which way you dragged it, just flip it upright. Unwrap it and add a blend texture to it. So let's call this darken depth. Okay, let's call this one blend depth. Blend texture, set it to vertical. If you're not sure, just check. Hold on, let me just make it double-sided. Oh, hold on, I'm in the wrong layer. There we go. Okay, so it has to be the other way around. It has to be horizontal. My mistake. Set this to be 0.5. Make this black. And flip that around. Okay, there we go. You see, let me turn this way, see if it's clearer. For some reason, my sun lamp isn't really sun lamping it brighter. Weird, really weird. So let's just make it shadeless so we can see it clearly. Okay. Now, as you can see here, it fades from the middle down. That is what we're going to be doing. So that when, let's say you decide to change the depth, if you scale it up, everything else will scale accordingly. It's as simple as that. Okay, so we have this, and now we want to make it blue. We want to have everything fade to a very nice blue. So let's go for that one. And this white has to also go blue, but it has to be completely transparent. Let's make this darker. It's a little bit too bright. And move it closer to the black. Something like that. Okay, now let's scale it up. Let's say that the bottom monkey is just at the bottom. Now see, look at that. Let's take our bottom monkey. Let's give her a different color. Make her, say, yellow. Very strong yellow. And let's get that depth texture. Set it to object. And select our plane. Look at that. I recommend setting it to influence the specularity as well so that it goes darker despite the caustic light on it. Same for this one. So that it affects it properly. That looks funny. Oh, also on this one right here. So let's change this one's color to be a reddish color, and this one, make it kind of a pinkish. Oh, green. Let's make it green. Oh, green monkey. Give the red also that texture. Now, if you were to render this out, that is what you would see. Now, I personally feel that this light is way too small. So I'm just going to be making it bigger. My caustic sun. Just double check that it's only on this layer. Okay, yes. And make it bigger. Just want it to be a little bit more stylized. I'm happy with that. Okay, let's hit render. That's cool. Now I just want to try switching the surfaces. I think I might have them backwards. Just so we can see. No, I had them the right way around. Just want to see something. Output viewer. Yes, that's correct. Just want to see the alpha. That's also correct. There we go. Now it's okay. I had it backwards in the mix node. Okay, that was just my error. I also feel like the surface tension is a bit insane, so I'm just going to adjust that quickly too. That's much better. Let's quickly add some object at the bottom so that we get the impression of depth. Can make it any kind of material you want to, as long as we apply that texture again. And there you go. It really is that simple. What you can also do is you can animate it by animating this empty over here. All you need to do is move it. What I would suggest that you do is move it along the z-axis, the y-axis, and the x-axis so that there is no point on the surface that the texture doesn't change from frame to frame. But focus on your z-axis going downward. Expand the water surfaces. And apply their scales. I just want to see what they do. Aha, see. Let's try that again. Much better. Let me just add a back wall so you can see what it looks like as the caustics shine against something. There you go. Now you can see how it goes deeper and deeper and deeper until there's nothing. You can do that with rocks, you can do that with pretty much anything. I'm very happy with this result, so let's jump to the reflections. Like I said, we're going to have to add those. Okay, we're doing it on this one. You're going to have to go with almost fully opaque. Let's go for 0.95. And add a fully reflective mirror with a distance, let's say about 20, and it goes to the material. Now hit save and render. Okay, that's way too much. We need to tone it way down. So let's go for 0.9 or 0.8. Let's go for 0.8. Okay, that's good. Reduce reflectivity. Go for say 0.7. Yeah, 0.7 is good. And some surface tension using water surface. Again, select your object, the empty. Let's just type in empty. There we go. Leave it on 1. And I'm going to set this to 0.1. Yeah, something along those lines. And last but simply not least, freestyle. So as you all know, I do have a very default setting for freestyle. So I'm just going to be turning that on. I'm turning a few things off that are excessive. Okay, that's cool. And then hit render again. Now the reason these lines are coming through is purely because we don't have enough detail on our water planes. To fix that, all you need to do is just add some subdivision surface to it. So let's make it 5 on simple. Otherwise they go round. So let's make it round there. Turn off the view. And there you go. So now you can see the freestyle lines are on the monkeys, but there's absolutely nothing on the water surface. Now, of course, you can go nuts and add, let's say, a large cylinder. Stick it over there. Smooth. Make sure it's on both layers. Slide it in and add, I don't know, let's add a twisted torus. No, not a twisted torus, that's boring. Let's go for something fancier. Where are those knots? It's under curve. Torus knot. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's duplicate the monkey material. That way we can just change the color. And the texture will automatically be applied. So let's make this a bluish, no, let's make it a red, really strong red. Stick that partially in the water. And this one, let's make it like a really strong fuchsia purple, pink. There we go. And let's check that out. Now, the only thing that I do warn is that if you go below the water surface, your setup may change. I haven't tried that. This is purely for looking into water. If you are underwater, all you need to do is just make sure that your surface water doesn't show the caustics. But in that case, they will show, at least in the case of anime, it would have this texture on the surface to show you the surface is there. That's all there is to it. So that's all to this method. I'm going to be animating the empty and rendering this out so that you guys can see it in action and enjoy the examples. Have a great one and God bless.